Good morning. Well, here at the RSA conference, we get an opportunity once a year to come together as an industry and spend a little bit of time talking about what are the challenges that we face today and how are our jobs and our industry going to change over the next several years. One of the things that we see is that information is continuing to grow at a very rapid rate, every minute, every hour, every day. Industry analysts place that growth at 60% per year. And I've talked to customers who tell me it's 15%, and I've had some tell me it's as much as 100% growth per year. But this information is no longer sitting in a filing cabinet or a file on your desk. It's now on your cell phone, your laptop, your netbook, and it's being accessed from everywhere, from your home, from the beach, from a chairlift at your favorite ski resort, or an airplane that's flying across the country. This year, 2010, marks the beginning of a decade that will see enormous change. But what we've got to do is take a much closer look at information. Where does it come from? What do we do with it? How do we manage it? And really, what does it mean to all of us? This decade will define what we call the information economy. It's an economy that is defined by the value of intellectual property. It's defined by the value of content. It's defined by the value of ideas. It's all about the value of information. What makes digital information so powerful, though, is that it can be created very easily. It can be distributed. It can be replicated. It can move from place to place. But that same flexibility is what creates the real risk. What we've done is we need to think about how do we protect that information. From the moment it's created, to the moment it's stored, to the moment it's accessed, how do we manage it and secure it? As the information economy continues to change, one of the things that we need to think about is what are the major trends that are going to be the dominating forces in this new economy. We've talked a lot about cloud computing, mobile devices, and social media. We believe that these are forces that will absolutely change IT. One of the things that's happening right now is that as people think of those trends, what we know is that they're absolutely inextricably linked. More of the computing power is moving from our desktops and our servers and our data centers out onto the cloud. That power is fueling digital devices because it's providing greater access to applications and information from wherever you are. The thing that's driving this, though, is ultimately the underlying ubiquitous connectivity that we all now have access to. First, let's talk about the growing trend that we all know as cloud computing. There are many facets to this trend. First, you've got public clouds, you've got private clouds, and you've got a hybrid. You've got many layers. You've got software as a service, you've got infrastructure as a service, and you've got platform as a service. These are benefits both to the IT organization, but also to the end users. Cloud computing is going to pose a major shift in how services are delivered by IT. It'll challenge our traditional thinking. It'll move us from a service provider model that is based on our own IT department to a service provider that's external, and it'll change the relationship between that service provider and the service consumer. Now, this relationship hinges on trust. It hinges on the confidence and trust between the service provider and the service consumer. Despite the real benefits that we see, there's also concerns about privacy and security. Security is ultimately the key to enabling trust that will make this model succeed. As you think about some of the key issues, those who can successfully address security, compliance, and privacy will be the big winners. And I'll talk about how we as an industry can do that. But first, let's talk about the growth in digital devices. One of the things that's interesting is that we're seeing a big growth in devices that are non-Windows based. We're seeing growth in devices like iPhones, Android devices, BlackBerries, e-readers, and just a few other things that we're seeing come up on the horizon. But what we've seen is a change that we haven't seen as dramatic a change in as many as 20 years from the inception of the PC. As we think about what's happening, consumers are driving the adoption of these devices. They're asking us to basically accept those devices and allow them to access corporate information from wherever they are. IDC predicts that there'll be 1 billion cell phones accessing the internet by the end of this year. To put that in perspective, today there are 1.3 billion PCs accessing the internet. Like many of you, I carry multiple devices, and right now I'm not exactly sure where mine is. I'm sure Justin, who's our CISO, is wondering, where the heck is it? Because that device has all of the information that we use as our company. I can access the intranet, I can access our corporate data, I can access our customer data, and so we need to think about how do we secure that device. Now, these trends are absolutely transforming the industry: cloud computing, social media, and mobile devices. And so what I'd like to do now is I'd like to invite Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce.com, to share his perspective. He today has over 70,000 customers at Salesforce.com, and they're clearly recognized as the leader in enterprise cloud computing.
Thank you, Enrique, and I'd like to say hello to everyone at the RSA conference. And thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to greet you today. You know, I was just thinking this week, and you may have seen I wrote about it on TechCrunch, that when I started Salesforce.com in the mid-90s, I asked myself a simple question. Why is all enterprise software not like Amazon.com? It just seemed to me that Amazon.com was just so easy to get going and was such a robust application, but that if we made enterprise software like Amazon.com, well, then it would be low cost, it would be easy to use, and wow, the speed that you would get compared to traditional client server would be amazing. That's why I quit my job at Oracle in 1999, and I decided to start Salesforce, because I wanted to make all enterprise software as easy as Amazon. And behold, now we have such a tremendous industry of software as a service, applications as a service, even platforms as a service. But just this weekend, I was thinking to myself, and maybe you've had this same experience, why is all enterprise software not like Facebook? I mean, that seems like it has become the new compelling application on the internet today, with almost 500 million users and a dramatic growth rate. I mean, when you look at the core fundamentals of internet usage, where people are spending their time on the internet, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and it's on fundamental search. And that's a big shift that's going on from just a few years ago when people were on very different services. Look, the power of this idea is that the world is not just becoming the cloud, but it's going social. And there's powerful new metaphors there to increase productivity, make things much easier to use, and even lower cost. So this whole idea of cloud and social, and this idea also that everything is going into the mobile internet. How many people in the audience have an iPhone? How many people have a BlackBerry? How many people have an Android device? Okay, that's probably everyone in the audience at the RSA conference. You know, the question that I think you just have to look at is, when are we going to let go of the past? And when are we going to start creating a compelling future for enterprise software? At the end of the day, Lotus Notes was conceived before Mark Zuckerberg was. I mean, it's time for a change. And I think the advancement is a nod from the consumer and internet once again, an advancement into the next generation of enterprise software. And that's why this week we're so excited that we put Salesforce Chatter into beta. And we believe in this new vision. We believe in the imperative of a new enterprise industry. We call it the Facebook imperative. And you can see our vision at www.salesforce.com/chatter. Thanks, Enrique, and have a great conference.
So just as Mark mentioned, the world is going social. And to bring that point home, just a couple weeks ago, I was meeting with a large company in the Northeast, and they had told me that using internal social networking technologies, they've changed their onboarding process from 3 weeks to 1, and their employee productivity has gone through the roof. But with these new social networking capabilities, it does bring new risk. It can drive real value by making us more efficient, but we also need to manage the risks that it creates. The privacy of our information